A dollar would come in, I'd spend $2 and I tried to gamble my way out of it. Next thing you know, I got 30K on college football games. My wife doesn't know, and I end up 100K in debt and 175K of my retirement gone. That's quite honestly the quickest way to growth. It's not adding more stuff. It's cutting out the stupid stuff that you know doesn't serve a purpose. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I feel great today. Well, then do it again tomorrow. Right?
Welcome to The Price of Success, the podcast where we tell the whole truth about what it costs to build the business and life God created you for. We're here to remind you that conditions are never perfect. Success always comes with a price, and you're not the only one paying it. Let's get started. Jeff Wickersham, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm pumped, Chris.
Absolutely, dude. Okay, so I've seen your stuff on LinkedIn, and I was like, I got to have this guy on the podcast because I really appreciated how real and raw you were about your story. The top of your LinkedIn bio says something to the effect about you want to impact 1 million dads, and through that, 2 million kids as a result of the Warrior Dad experience and what you do. But dude, like, here's the thing. That's not just like a big goal. It's like dang near unrealistic by most people's standards. And so I'd love to ask, man, just like right off the cuff here, right out of the gate, why that number? Because truthfully, man, could have been 10,000 and that would be sufficient. 100,000 would be great. But why that number? What's the real meaning behind 1 million dads?
I would say just putting a hairy, audacious, big goal out there that scared the heck out of me. And as I was creating the Warrior Dad and what I've done for the past 3 years, I thought about a 30-year time horizon. And I'm like, what could I do in 30 years? And I came up with 1 million, and it scared me a little bit. And I was like, okay, anytime something scares me a little bit, I know that that's stretching me out of my comfort zone. I'm going to grow from it. And I said, imagine by January 1st, 2053, 1 million dads being impacted, 2+ million kids, fundamentally changing fatherhood forever and making a dent in the universe and such a profound impact on the world. So that's the number I put down. I mean, I'm looking over there on my whiteboard. I've got 1 million there, 1153. I've got, where I'm at tracking towards it. And it's just this North Star guiding me on a daily basis. And we need that North Star to guide us, to have us continue to make progress and continue to push the needle and get up when we get knocked down or punched in the gut and continue that relentless kind of maniacal focus towards it. So that's what I came up with. And I love it, man. It drives me on a daily basis and just excited to get there.
Yeah. I mean, some would argue like that's such a big number. It's like, do you get discouraged sometimes?
Absolutely. Right. There are days where I question what the heck am I doing? I don't think I'd be a human being if I didn't have that battle that Chris, you face, I face, the same 6 inches in between our ears and our minds. And for sure, there are days where I question that. And then something will happen, or I'll read something, listen to something and just say, okay, don't give up. Don't give up. That's the target. Keep moving. And typically I'll hear something from a dad that's jumped into one of my programs, and all of a sudden he's pouring into love with his kids, and they're like overwhelmed by how he's showing up, or, he's got more energy that he's had in the entire year after the first week of jumping into one of my programs. I'm like, more dads need to do it. I would say most times my frustration is dad's still sitting on the fence or saying, no, I'm good. I can figure it out myself. Where I like to say that's, taking a trip from LA to New York and you're riding a unicycle and you have no map, where get on the private jet with me and I'll take you there, because it's worked dozens and dozens and dozens of times for dads. So, yeah.
So within those 1 million dads, I actually want to camp out where what you just said. It frustrates you when dads are sitting on the fence. And dude, I'm the same way, because I don't just like sell what I sell or do what I do because I'm like, oh, sweet, this is all about me. Like, at some level, when you can help someone, you're like, dude, I want to help you make the best decision for you. And I feel like, based on what you've shared with me, holy crap, like this is it. And so what do you think the root is behind these dudes who are sitting on the fence?
I mean, ego gets involved, right? Of like, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
I can do it. It's that kind of tough man, tough macho meant like, I got it, man. What do you don't think I'm a good dad? No, it's not that. But can you tweak the needles? Can you turn the dials a little bit to be a better dad? Can you pour into your wife a little bit more? Be that husband of the year? Can you just play with more energy, focused? And we get 18 seasons with our kids in the house. I had a dad who recently recorded a testimonial video, and he's like, for dad on the fence, think about when your kids graduate and then fast forward 10 years in the future and ask yourself, looking back, are you going to wish you invested more on being a better dad? And I got goosebumps from it. And I was like, Peter, yes, like that's it. Like we only get so much time for our kids. So ego, number one. Yeah. The common excuses, I don't have time, I don't have money, like the dad ledger. I mean, money is complete BS. Guys will spend $1,500 on a golf trip and go on a weekend bender, and they're not like, how much have you invested in being a better dad or husband? Like maybe you bought a book that you read halfway and that's about it. I mean, we need to change that ledger. I mean, it needs to be stacked the other way, because at the end of our days, Chris, I mean, legacy is all that's going to matter when we get to, our end of days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, dude, and speaking of book, you have the Warrior Dad book, which I bought. I started to read. I was like, dude, this dude can write. Let's go. It's good. A lot of people write books, but I was like, man, this is really powerful stuff. And you were super, super real and raw in that book. Like I was reading some things I want to dive into a little bit further. But before we even get into your story, because I definitely want to, before we get into your story, I'm curious, like a warrior dad, right? If warrior dad is a 10, like what is the antithesis of a warrior dad? Is it a weak dad? Like what is it?
I think it's somebody that, and I always like to say my enemy is the average mediocre, kind of common dad, husband, and man that is going through the motions, that is just trying to survive, trying to tread water, but doesn't want to ask for help and is numbing it up with vices, whether it's alcohol, porn, gambling. So and listen, I've been there. I used to do that. That is the guy we're fighting against. And unfortunately, a lot of men are going down that common road. Yeah. And I tell my sons all the time, dare to be uncommon. Choose your own path that doesn't have a path, and create your own. So that's the dad we're fighting against. That's the dad that maybe didn't have a dad that poured in from a love, support, encouragement, gratitude perspective. Yes, we're strong warriors. We take care of our bodies, our minds, but we also pour in from a love perspective, make daily deposits into that love bank account, so we can have both high support, but also high standards. And that's really the warrior dad ethos. And I think, Chris, everybody has, especially like we have a warrior inside. It's just been layered upon, and we've heard common themes. We take it as doctrine, and then we incorporate that into our lives. And then we live that way where, man, we all have that spark inside. It's just been muted. It's been numbed. It's been sedated. And we need more strong men to stand up and lead their families from the front, because I will tell you, when you do that, it's like a sports team running out of the tunnel. Yeah. And you're all taking on life. You're all taking on the world. You're connected. You love each other. I mean, there's nothing better than doing that.
Yeah, dude. Oh man. You're so right about that being something that like God ingrained in us. Where do you think guys are directing that energy right now? If they're not directing it towards their families, where do you find the guys who you start to coach with? They don't even realize it, but they're like, oh man, I am putting that warrior spirit into what?
9 times out of 10, it's career. It's providing, right? It's that, hey, I need to get all the things and make sure my kids don't want for anything, where unfortunately and not only are they pouring all their time in there, they think that's where they're going to find fulfillment. Yeah. It's actually counterintuitive. You pour into your family, you're so much more fulfilled. And then guess what? The byproduct is you go crush it at work. It's counterintuitive, but that's kind of how we've been wired to, I need to provide. And I say, yes, that's an important piece. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But rather than pouring everything into providing, be by their side, be by your kid's side on a daily basis. Make sure you're connecting. You're telling them how much you you love them. You're telling them how much you're grateful for them. You're saying how proud you are. You're instilling those soft skills, but are really the skills for success as far as grit, effort, attitude, positivity, all those things that are going to truly set them up for success in life. So yeah, I would say career or business is typically where the the average kind of dad lies.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel that, this. I have 6 kids, 10 and under. It's chaos, man. And as a result, I have to make a lot of money. Right now, unfortunately, a lot of money goes out too.
Yep.
But yeah, there is that grind, and it's good and godly to want to provide for your family. But you're right. It turns into this like almost an identity instead of the thing that really matters, because we hear things about people who are on their deathbed. It's like no one's ever like, oh man, I just wish I answered that email, or I would have closed that one deal. It's always about relationships. What would you say you had to shed for yourself to become this warrior dad before you even built this thing?
The bad habits, the vices, the things that weren't setting me up for success. Yeah. And to have a honest look in the mirror at myself as who I was showing up as a man, as a leader, as a dad and a husband, and saying, you know what, you need to change some things. And I still remember, gosh, it was probably 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I was still drinking at the time. I haven't had a drink in about 4 years now. Awesome. But played cards on a Friday night till 2:00 in the morning with my neighborhood buddies, slamming them back. And always told my wife, I'll always get up with the boys and I'll always, get up for work. I won't let it impact me. Was teaching an 8 a.m. fitness class at my gym, went in to kiss her. She said, can I ask you a question? I said, sure, hon. She said, how are you going to go teach about health and wellness and you reek of alcohol? So that was like a truth bomb she threw my way. So, cutting out those things that didn't serve a purpose in my life, whether, it was alcohol, whether it was porn, whether it was gambling, social media, all those things, and having the courage to choose a different path. And it's challenging. Like I delayed telling my family 4 years ago that I was going to give up alcohol for a year. And that was the longest stretch I was going to give up for my last 28 years of my life. I didn't tell them for like a month and a half. Oh, wow. Because, it's the fear of being ostracized from a group. And I'll tell you, I don't get invited to things from, high school buddies or fraternity. I know I don't get included in some of those things but I'm on a different path. And I have now come to grips with, hey, that is my path and this is my life only. So cutting out the bad things, the things that don't have value. And I like to call them kryptonite dust, because they're not going to kill you in the moment, but they definitely weaken your strength, your confidence, your courage over time. So being able to get away from those things, figure out how to play at a peak level on a daily basis, just allowed me to evolve from, and my wife and I joke around, Chris, all the time about old Jeff and new Jeff. Old Jeff would be short, would be drinking, would be, woman, like all the, it wasn't the best version of me. And I would wake up the next day like, what the hell am I doing with my life? So finally answering that call and putting away the vices, the things that just detract from you. And that's quite honestly the quickest way to growth. It's not adding more stuff. It's cutting out the stupid stuff that doesn't serve a purpose. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I feel great today. Yeah. Well, then do it again tomorrow. It's those type of things. So, I went and did a deep dive on myself, figuring that out, and then just started putting it into practice on a consistent daily basis. And the protocol, the routines that I share in the word, I've been doing it for 7.5 years. Awesome. I think today was, I forget the number, but 7.5 years of consistency. So
that's a big number, man.
That's a little bit about, that's a little bit about, kind of what I had to do. And I'm a practitioner, meaning I do the work on myself before I ever share it with anybody that jumps into the warrior dad. Why? Because that gives me the ability to say, hey, this worked, this didn't. And I think, unfortunately, too many people are listening to others that aren't doing that thing, and then they're stuck in their ways. So they deep diving on myself, figuring out what works, what doesn't, and then when it does work, just having that consistency to do it over and over again.
Yeah, dude, I love that, man. And I can see, like visually, I can see you're a practitioner. Like, fit, you're healthy, your skin looks good. Like, dude, you look good. And I didn't even know. How old are you?
I just turned 50 in April.
Let's go, man. So you're 50 years old, right?
Yes.
You look great. You're taking care of yourself. Like you have a vibrancy and an energy about you that is like so magnetic, man. But it hasn't always been that way, right? And that's where I want to kind of go back to really the significance of where all this started. And I see you got a little pink wristband there. And I know that has a lot to do with the beginning of your story.
Yeah, so that I like to say that was the spark. I lost my mom to breast cancer. It'll be 11 years in December. And watching the woman that brought you into this world take her last breath in front of you. I mean, it is a pain that I don't wish on anyone.
Yeah.
We're all going to experience it, unfortunately. But the realization that she was gone and we get one trip around the sun, man, it hit me, like a brick in the chest, or I like to say a 2x4 upside the head. And I still remember the last deep conversation, Chris, I had with my late mother. She was about ready to go on hospice care. I was taking her a radiation treatment. So we kind of knew the end was near. And I asked her how she was doing. And to your point earlier, she was scared she'd be forgotten. And I'm the oldest of three. She's got 7 grandkids. And that was just something I didn't know it then. And I love to use Steve Jobs' famous Stanford commencement speech, right? You just have to trust the dots connect looking back. I know they connect looking back now because something subconsciously was passed between her and me. Like, I don't want to get to my deathbed and be scared I'd be forgotten. And that was, a powerful piece. And even that night she passed, I don't share this too often, but I was challenged right after she passed. I'm the oldest of 3. So when she passed, I jumped into, calling people, letting them know, getting the funeral service out. It was a Sunday late. And unfortunately, we got the second-hand crew of the funeral service. I remember going upstairs to, my parents' bedroom, and they were 2 older gentlemen in their upper 70s. And I asked them, what's wrong? And they said, we don't know if we're going to be able to carry your mom down the steps.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I got it. Let me go ask my brother. And I'm getting goosebumps telling you right now. And that night, my brother and I carried my mom down in a black body bag down the steps. And it was like, I've got this, right? But imagine doing that the night she passes. And, in the moment, it gets me emotional now, but I draw strength from that now. And it allows me to fuel my purpose of a million dads and 2+ million kids and carrying on her legacy and her name. So, that was spark number 1 of what do I want to do with my life and what kind of impact do I want to have? And now it's just hair on fire, sprinting towards the lake. How do I get a little bit better today than I was yesterday?
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. And let me ask you, man. I know that your mom has a lot to do with the origin story. I guess I just wonder, like, what do you want people to know about your mom? Because she's like, I don't want to be forgotten. Obviously you haven't forgotten her, and she made an impact on your life, and she's a huge reason this mission's alive.
That she had hope and positivity. I got something from a neighborhood girl that I grew up with. I graduated with, actually, and she shared it with me the day of her funeral. She actually was assaulted and raped, and things happened. And my mom sent her this card and this passage about hope, and it really resonated with her. And she cared. She wanted to give other people hope and be positive for the battles she's fought. So, as I told her, I said, even when you're gone, your positivity, your hope is going to flow through me. It's going to go to my 2 sons, and we're going to continue that cycle.
Man. Yeah. So mom passes away of breast cancer. You said that was about 11 and a half years ago, you said?
11 years ago in December, yep.
Okay, so 11 years ago. So, one of my favorite quotes is like, commitment is doing this thing you said you would do long after the feeling is left, right? And so emotions are high, and you're like, Mom, I want to carry your legacy on. Like, but how did this all take shape from that moment? How long did it take, and what were the things you were dealing with, man? Like you said, between those 6 inches left to right ear.
Yeah, it was a lot of failure, a lot of trial and error. Another spark happened about 9 months after she passed. I was working for a Fortune 100 company. I live outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They asked me to relocate. I was working virtually, said relocate to offices in New York or Phoenix, Arizona. My guys were starting to play sports. Wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I'm going to open up a gym. She's like, you're going to do what? And she called me crazy with some other words. And, but she had faith in me. And I made the leap, went into the gym business. Man, I didn't know what I was getting into as far as being an entrepreneur, still doing those things, those vices, those things that detracted. So I wasn't setting myself up for success, but I was learning. And I allowed myself to suck in the process, right? I started to go live on social. I still remember, Chris, the first time going on social. I mean, my hands shaking, I'm monotone, like, hey, this is Jeff from Metamor. Like, it was awful, but I allowed myself to suck. I started a podcast. I started learning how to speak. I was literally petrified to speak in corporate situations. I did not like public speaking at all. I was the last one to raise my hand, right?
Yeah.
So I started sucking, started building some things, figuring some things out. I paid for coaching, mentoring, made some bad decisions after the gym business. And you read in the book, the gym business, I owned it during COVID. I had made some, a dollar would come in. I'd spend $2 that on the way out. And I tried to gamble my way out of it. Next thing you know, I got $30K on college football games, and my wife doesn't know, and I end up $100K in debt and 150, 175K of my retirement gone. Had to face her and building that back up, face possibly going into bankruptcy as a family, and then multiple iterations of my coaching business, doing different things. And then 3 years ago, so that was like 8 years, right, of journey and work on myself. And then 3 years ago, Chris, who do I want to, I was in that mode. I can help people. I know I've got some things figured out. I've battled the demons and the dragons, and now I can bring back what I've learned to others. I've got a buddy who runs ultra marathons. He had a training buddy, dad of 3, going through a challenging time. And he said, you know what? You should connect with Jeff. He's got some energy. He'll fire you up. He's got some systems that you can play with. And unfortunately, the dad never reached out, and he ended up taking his own life, committing suicide. So that was kind of the spark. Number 2, where I told my wife right there in my office, I said, it's dad's. I'm going to create the warrior dad. She's like, you love being nothing more than a dad. I think that's it. And that was 3 years ago.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's so interesting how we think when we make a decision to jump into entrepreneurship or the next thing, how we think sure, it'll be tough as we climb the mountain, but sometimes we realize we're climbing the wrong one. We're like, well, dang it. It's over there.
Yeah. Yep.
So, actually, let me ask you this real fast. When it comes to the gym, like, it doesn't sound like you had any entrepreneurial experience prior to that gym, right? So you were coming from corporate. So at this point in time, paint me a picture here. Were you improving as a father? Were you anywhere close to a warrior dad? Were you like a 1? Were you a 2? I'm curious.
I would say being a dad was one of the foundations that kept me going. I've always played at a pretty good level. I definitely had areas of improvement that I could make, either, from a patient's perspective when my boys were young, and being a little bit more caring, setting a better example rather than, slamming a 12-pack of beers while I'm watching football on a Sun, like that kind of stuff. I definitely areas of improvement, but my boys were, I coached all their sports teams, basketball, football, all of those things. So I was definitely a present, active dad. I just needed to eliminate some of those things that were really stopping me from being that warrior dad, having that mentality and instilling those things in my boys as well.
Okay. And the reason I asked that is because a lot of guys, like you said, have that warrior spirit in them. And a lot of times, like, that could push them into, wanting to start their own business, or creating a legacy through something they're doing from a business perspective. So people would leave a job like yours and they'd go like, I'm going to start a business. And their wife would be like, the hell you are, right? They'd freak out because the masculine is designed to expand and the feminine is designed to preserve at times, right? And so with that being said, I guess the reason I was asking that is I'm like, Was it that easy of a conversation to say, like, I'm going into entrepreneurship? I mean, there's more there, yeah?
No, I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, she told me I was effing crazy. I mean, she
Yeah.
literally did at dinner. And
Yeah.
then I think I pulled from Joe Rogan and said, hey, crazy and greatness are next door neighbors and they borrow each other's sugar. So,
Boy.
you know, she had faith in me. And I
Mhm.
will say that has been one of the bedrocks of her just showing up and believing in me to keep me iterating. And there was a point, I mean, 3 years ago where she was like, because she's a teacher, benefits, right? Helps the family stay afloat. And 3 years ago, she was like, it's time. You need to get a consulting gig. And I was just starting the Warrior Dad. And I remember
Yeah.
being out in the kitchen. I had an old Dell laptop and I went on Indeed and the battery had gone a while ago. Somehow the plug wasn't plugged in. And all of a sudden the laptop went dead. And I said, that's it. I am not going back ever again. That's a sign. I'm just not doing it. And, even sharing with my oldest son a couple years, year and a half, 2 years ago, he's like, I want to do what you do. This is awesome. And I said, Jackson, listen, mom helped for 6 years. I've been at this for 6 years and I finally have my breakthrough where I'm getting traction and I'm building this thing and I have a vision and a plan. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
It's a lot of tough, hard, questioning your sanity, keeping moving, taking action, next foot forward, that type of mentality. So no, it wasn't an easy conversation. There was multiple ones out after that of like, when is this going to be enough?
Yeah.
I would say, fortunately on my end, I'm a stubborn son of a gun.
Yeah.
And I just kept pushing, kept moving. And, now she's 100% on board. Like, this is what you need to do. Million dads is going to happen. And we're moving forward.
Let's go, man. Dude.
Yeah.
That's so good. Just real fast, we have a bit of a similar story. I started a gym in Cincinnati, Ohio, after being in fitness for like 8 years. God made a way. It was actually at the top floor of a church. It was wild. And things were really good. I was bad. I was struggling with vices because I was waking up at 3:45 and getting home at 8 o'clock. My wife was raising 3 under 3 at home at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in this coffee shop under my church was top floor and the coffee shop was on the first floor. I'm sitting in this coffee shop and I'm just writing a letter to God because that's what I like to do on this journal. I'm writing a letter to God and I'm like, God, why do I feel this way? The business just hit the best numbers we've hit. Everyone's happy, but I'm empty. And my fingers just start typing, shut the business down, shut the business down, and I'm like, whoa, boom, shut the laptop. Right. And I was like, whoa, I'm freaking out. I go upstairs. I remember the lights are off. I'm standing in my studio looking out over this playground next to this school and my phone vibrates in my pocket. It's my wife because I'm waiting for a session. And she's like, hey, I got to talk to you. I was like, yeah, what's up? She's like, you're going to kill me. I was like, what? She goes, I feel like in my devotions this morning, God told me we're going to shut the business down in May. I was like, what? Like, dude, just crazy moment for us. Just unreal.
Yeah.
And so we were obedient to that. But just like your story, it's like when you jump into something, you think it's all gonna work. There'll be some bumps in the road. But I look back on that and us making that decision, like, dude, it was rough. It was rough. And it did come to a point where I was like, I'm an entrepreneur, I think, but oh shoot, we're running out of money. I need to go apply for jobs. I remember my wife put her hands on my shoulders one day and she's like, no. Like, do not apply for jobs. And so the reason I asked about that, man, is like entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but there is an element of like, even if you weren't a warrior dad yet, right? There's something in you, I know from experience, that like your wife trusted and had faith in that you were going to take care of you guys. And so my question to this is like, what about you and your wife saying, okay, do this, even though it didn't work out? What about that has grown as a result of all the things you've done to become a warrior dad?
I mean, number one, our marriage is so much better now because I've stepped into new Jeff and a new version of myself. And there were some, and I share this with the dads that jump in. There were some teary-eyed conversations on the couch about like who I was becoming and are you going to love me? And like, that type of change is hard always in life. And I kept reassuring her that, hey, I'm doing this for myself, but also to be a better husband for you, to be a better dad for the boys. So now it's, joking around about old Jeff and new Jeff and on a growth journey together, which I think is incredibly powerful. And she knows I consistently show up day in and day out now. And there isn't a vice that knocks me off. So it's Jeff showing up daily, and I'm maniacally consistent related to, stacking my wins, creating that morning momentum, and then crushing it. And she's seen it in the business growth and the impact more than even the business growth, the impact that I'll share a message that I get from a dad. And it's like my wife said, who the heck is this guy you're becoming? And I'm so in love with you. Or a daughter says like, you're dad of the year, week 1, because the dad's making daily deposits in the Love Bank account. And I think she understands the bigger impact. And we talk about, Chris, deeper stuff now. It was it wasn't really deep stuff. Where do we want to go? What do we want to do for quite some time? It's now those deeper conversations. And now we cheer each other on and we lift each other up. And I would say I had to look in the mirror. It was a lot of me and what I needed to fix of how do I support you? How do I help you? Asking her those type of questions on a weekly basis, where old Jeff didn't ask those kind of questions.
Yeah. So at this point in the story, you've been experiencing these vices, right? You jump into gambling, you mentioned, right? And you went over that fast. Really, really scary stuff, man. To be an entrepreneur, to be in the position you guys were in, what was that season of desperation like when you were going through those things? And then I'm just curious, man, like in coming out on the other end, like how bad did that beat you up?
So it started with business not doing as well as it should, acquiring credit card debt. And literally I was driving to coach my kids in a football game one Saturday morning, and you hear it on all sports talk radio. Hey, call, get 3 free picks.
Yeah.
Well, I did. But then guess what? You get kicked up to another guy, get kicked up to another guy, you get kicked up to another guy. And next thing you know, I had $30K on a football game. Won, but they needed to take their cut. So I didn't even win $30K. I had to pay them like 20. Like I was just in a weak, vulnerable position. Looking back now, I'm like, what the heck was I? Somebody asked me like what game it was. I was like, I literally have blocked that out of my head. I have no idea what game it was. Next week, lost $30K. Then lost $30K the next week. And these guys pressured, had me. I was vulnerable. Like it was bad to a point where they had kicked me up to other guys and were like, you have to get into this game. And I had called my uncle to basically ask to borrow money. And he's like, what is going on? And I told him, he goes, don't answer the phone ever again from those guys. Don't answer an email. I got you. And then I had to tell my dad. That's when I shared it with my wife. And it was one of the lowest points I've ever been in my life. And then COVID happened right around that time. And COVID probably saved my marriage, because I bet you my wife was going to kick me out at that point. But we couldn't really go anywhere. And I just started putting in the work and visit a bankruptcy attorney. And Chris, I couldn't even schedule the meeting. I was so ashamed. My dad, here I am at, what was that, 45? He had to schedule the appointment for me.
Yeah.
Went, he said, you can file for bankruptcy or you can go this route. He says, I don't think the creditors are going to negotiate with you. And I still remember walking up the hill to my truck. Sun was beating down. It was like late morning. And my dad and I were sitting there talking. He's like, what direction you want to go? And I something in me said, you know what? I'm fighting. My back's against the wall. I'm just going to fight. And I did. But it was a scary time. They put a tremendous, the service I used put a tremendous amount of pressure on me, calling nonstop, like literally just preying on somebody that's in a very, very vulnerable, weak position. And, luckily I started digging myself out, got some help from my dad and on that upswing, but definitely a scary, scary time. And, so that's a little bit more on that story.
Yeah. Yeah, man. There's a lot there. When you say I want to fight, to be clear, you did not file for bankruptcy. You paid all that off.
I negotiated down with the creditors and said, this is what they basically called me. I said, this is what I got. You can either take it or leave it. Right. And they would say, nope. And I'd say, all right, we're done here. And I'd hang up. Because what else am I going to do? Back against the wall, right? So I negotiated that out. But here's the other thing. When you negotiate that stuff and they relieve some of that debt, it's shown as income on your tax return.
No
so 2
way.
years later, 2 years later, I got like a $14,000 tax bill. And it was like I'd been lying on the floor. I finally gotten up and then I got kicked in the nuts again and went right back down. But, I paid that off. But, it was a journey and it was a fight for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. So, man, this is so good. Like this is a real story, right? That's why I started this podcast. I'm just like, dude, there's these real stories that people don't realize. Like there's this great part of entrepreneurship, but when people succeed, you got to look at their story and be like, they went through some garbage. Like some stuff happened that has grown them like crazy. And there is a true price to being successful. Okay, so now at this point in the story, you've not filed for bankruptcy. You're fighting. Okay. But again, dude, like there's so much deep stuff happening right now. So I'm just curious. You said you start Warrior Dad 3 years ago. Like, how did it start? Was it like, I'm putting up this Facebook post, I don't know what to expect, I'm reaching out to a friend? Like what was that first moment like where you put yourself out there as a brand saying like Warrior Dad, knowing what you knew about your past?
Yeah, I had coaches that I was working with to kind of figure out, hey, what lane, what niche do I want to go into? We came upon that. I said, all right, I want a logo. I want something powerful. I went out, got the website address, and then I just started putting content out there. And I said, hey, I'm looking for dads to answer the call. I feel like we all have this, Chris, itch on the back of our necks that we can be more, do more, have more. It's answering that call. And I just started, quite honestly, it was based upon my journey. It was based upon my story. And I said, there's got to be other dads out there that have gone through some fires, but want to be a part of a brotherhood, want to be a part of other men that now are choosing to step away from the common path.
Yeah.
And I started putting content out there on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I mean, LinkedIn is probably my primary engine that I love putting content out there, and it started resonating with people.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the first posts was like, hey, if you're looking to thread the needle and crush your career, but you're feel like you're missing out a little bit or want to pour into your kids and your family more, we need to talk. And the guy, you read the book, Alex Lapperouse, who wrote my foreword, he literally messaged me, what the heck is this? We got on a call, and midway through, he's like, I'm in, man. And he's been, with me ever since from that. So it was having the courage to stand up and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. And I'm choosing to take an uncommon path, and I'm choosing to pour into my family and choose them over everything for the most part, and continuing to put the word out there, because I also feel like, Chris, there's not a lot out there for dads of like, what do we do? Or are we supposed to stomach it like, great grandpa did and not talk about deep stuff, right? I mean, that's one of the things when the dads jump into the Warrior Dad, I'm like, listen, this is the circle of trust. We're going to talk about real stuff.
Right.
I'm going to share real things with you. If you go outside the circle, I know some guys that are Navy SEALs. We'll come hunt you down, right? But it's like, it's a safe place. And then one of the other amazing things is dads will hear other dads challenged with stuff and they're like, holy crap, I'm not the only one. And I think that's what, especially on the male side, we think, well, we're the only one struggling. No, everybody is battling that mind, battling on a daily basis. So that's really how I got there. And then I leveraged what I feel is one of my strengths, this consistency. And I just started putting stuff out consistently.
Yeah, your posts are great, man. They're really good.
Thank you. Time and time again, being real, being raw, but sharing stories of like what's going on with my family and how, 3 years ago, I asked my boys if they'd be open to hitting the gym before school. They're both, athletes. They were. Hey, this past week, my youngest son was like, Dad, can you take me to the Y at 5:00 in the morning tomorrow? Didn't have to ask him. Well, that comes from my leadership, and we need more of that leadership from strong, focused, intentional, present dads.
Yeah. Amen to that, dude. Yes, let's go. And like I mentioned, your content is great. You really have a significant following on LinkedIn. And what's interesting about that, and I'll just give you my thoughts. LinkedIn for me, I never liked because I was just like, it just feels very performative. Like everyone's clapping for mediocrity, like just personally. And I just could not post on there. I was like, this is not my vibe. I hired a LinkedIn guy to help me kind of like enhance my profile, if you will. And I was like, I'm still not really into this, whatever. Then I found your content. I was like, let's go. I can hang out over here, And then I found some other people who were willing to like share because I think what people forget on platforms like that, it's like whether you're a corporate guy or you're not, like if you're a dad and you're a corporate guy, you're still dad. Like you're still a human being. So the content should land regardless. And people like you who put up content that is real, that matters, that is values-based, that has something to it, matters on a platform like that where everyone's just like, cool, I got a new job or whatever, which is great, right? It's great. But yeah, I'm curious from like a business perspective, like in building on LinkedIn, I know you have a corporate background and stuff, but in building on LinkedIn, did it catch like wildfire as a result of it being so authentic or not so much?
I think it did. That's why I gravitated towards that platform, right? I didn't post much on there when I was in my gym business or
neither.
When I was doing some of the other coaching iterations I had before the Warrior Dad. It was Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
And then I don't know why. It could have been one of my coaches back then said, hey, you should probably post on LinkedIn as well. And I had posted a picture of my younger son, Carter. I came down one morning before school and he's writing out his goals on a piece of paper. And I snapped a picture and it went viral, right? Where 60, 70,000 people saw it. And that's, that's where it starts building from that. Right. And then when you consistently show up, when you consistently put stuff out there, stuff happens. I mean, probably about a month and a half ago, I put a reel out on Instagram and it got 2.6 million views. Like it went viral because it was like 5 things that dads should do before their kids go back to school. It was literally a picture when I was down in Florida with my family of the water and then 2 dolphins jumping out. And I was like, how the heck did that? But you just put consistent content out there and you put real stuff out there. People don't want to see fake. No. Like there's enough fake BS in the world. Like people want to see real. People want to see, you mentioned the working out. Like I put out workout stuff because I'm 50 and I'm probably in better shape now than I was when I was 25.
Yeah, dude.
You got it, but you got to put it out there and then maybe you give somebody hope that like it is doable and they see somebody else doing it. And then they have the courage to reach out. Next thing you know, hey, they're changing their family tree forever, right? And that's one of the lines I always like. It only takes one dad to cut that anchor. If you've had generations that have perpetuated the same stuff, it only takes that one dad to change his family tree forever. And I'm looking for those dads that want to do that.
Let's go. That's inspiring, man. And I'm gonna ask you a challenging question about this because I heard another podcast. You said something to the effect of like, they called my dad Positive Paul, right? And obviously your mom was like really, really positive and full of hope and all these things, right? But you ended up going through some vices and some stuff that it's almost like people would look back and be like, whoa, were mom and dad not there? But it sounds like they were. So like, what do you think changed or shifted in you that kind of took you through this roller coaster?
I mean, I would say a lot of it was like the TVs and the movies, right? That we watch when we're younger. Like what do you watch Animal House, you watch, The Godfather, you watch, Soprano, like you watch all these things, and all of a sudden that's like, okay, that's the cool way to go. And I would also say, even though my mom had, a lot of hope and my dad was positive Paul, I mean, my senior class, graduating class on the male side, I was voted biggest complainer.
No way.
So, and a fraternity brother said the same thing in college. You were kind of a Debbie Downer. So I was not this way and I didn't pick it up for whatever reason. But I don't know if we had conversations about it necessarily. Right. I mean, I have a great relationship with my dad. I mean, I'm changing the family tree up too. We talk about like different mindset things. I got him the energy bus, got him Peter Attia's Outlive. He's reading it. We're talking, we're having great conversations, but I don't know and it was a different time. You didn't have a supercomputer in your palm as far as a phone now. And I harp on the phones because they're such a distraction, but you can also pull up any motivational speaker in the world and listen to something. You could apply it to your life. So I don't think it was that big back when I was growing up, but I know we didn't have, or maybe I just didn't stick with me, have those conversations where, I'm reinforcing the grit equation with my boys. Effort counts twice. I'm talking about how attitude you can, John Wooden, effort and attitude are two things you can always control. I'm instilling those things consistently. And I have for the last 7.5 years, where I'm pretty sure they're taking and they're learning from it. And I'll give a brief example. My oldest started driving in April, and he went to park in the garage. My truck was in the driveway, unfortunately, so he couldn't get in the garage, and he rubbed his rims on our curb because we kind of have those stone curves, that jet up. And he came in and he said, "Dad, I really want to get angry at you." He's like, "But I know I need to practice extreme ownership. It's my fault." And I'm like, "Yes, Jocko." Like I've talked about it to him. And I was like, so they are listening. So having better, more of high value conversations around the dinner table in the last 3 years as a family. I mean, we've set goals after our New Year's Day dinner as a family. We've all sat around the table and set goals. And I didn't do that when I was a teenager. I mean, my guys are learning how to set goals and go after things. So it's those type of added pieces to, what my parents instilled, that I'm bringing to the table and paying it forward with my two sons.
Let's go. You mentioned something earlier about how it kind of alienates you to level up. I actually experienced that recently. Had a family, it's hard to find big families, right? Where like mom and dad are kind of, just jive with me and my wife, and the kids are the same age and stuff. So we find this family locally. They're really cool. Everything's good. The wife is like in love with my wife. My wife loves her. I'm so glad she has a friend. I really like the dad. Really great guy. High level dude. Anyway, we go to breakfast one day and start talking or whatever. And I think the galvanizer in me just maybe came out a little too much. And he wasn't used to that. And they just kind of cut us off. And so I reached out. I was like, "Hey, dude, I don't want there to be a gray area here. Like, can I just understand what may have happened?" And he made something up. I was like, "Dude, for real." Like, and I just asked him a very real, blunt question. And I said, "Are you threatened by me?" Which is like pretty bold to ask, right?
For sure.
But I could sense it. Okay. And he's like, "Absolutely." And I was like, "Okay, let's talk about it." So we started talking about it. He's like, "You're too ambitious. You guys eat too healthy. You're this, you're that, and that." And I'm just like, wait, but like, you're a Christian. I'm a Christian. Iron sharpens iron, bro. Sparks fly. Like, well, wait. And it was just so odd to me because as we ended that conversation, I was really disappointed because I was like, man, all right, I guess we're not going to be friends. So like, we just kind of cut it off, which was odd. Never happened to me before. But it was because of my ambition, or like he said, "You're too analytical. You ask too many questions." I'm like, I want a friend who asks me questions. So anyway, I'm not the perfect friend. I'm a little too intense sometimes. And I learned from that. I was able to reflect. So, okay, Lord, what are you teaching me through that? Like, am I too ambitious in certain ways? Do I come off like a jerk? Whatever. But as I look back on that, I'm like, what is it about people when they level up? The crabs just want to pull them back in the bucket. Like, and are you experiencing that yourself? And are your guys experiencing that? And how do you help them navigate it?
I think it's human nature because, and I have experienced it. Good friends, I remember a couple of years ago being out at dinner, and she basically says, I don't like looking at your posts on socials because it makes me feel guilty about myself.
Wow.
So people know, every human being knows they have vast, unlimited potential inside.
True.
But something's stopping them from fulfilling that potential, getting on the journey. So yeah, I think that when someone up levels, plays at a different pace, energy, zest, vitality, like it shows it, all of a sudden it's a mirror moment and they're like, why am I not doing that?
Right.
And the easiest way is to throw out the defense mechanism and say, let's cut them out, because then they don't have to do any work. And listen, we're all inherently lazy. We just are.
Yeah. I fight it every day.
But the easiest way is then to cut them off or to unfollow or not look at their, because they don't want to see what is possible because somebody else is actually following through. And I had a buddy of mine who, when I wrote my first book, we started at the same time. And we said, all right, we're going to do it by XYZ date. I hit my date and I published. He called me, you know, I don't know if we can curse on this podcast, but he called me an a-hole because you did your book and I haven't done anything. And it's like that piece, right? And we're still friends and we joke around about it. But, having that consistency, that follow through, and it can provide that mirror for others. And then, the other factor is what I say is, like, if you hang out with me, and I remember we were at a 50th birthday party for one of my buddies, and somebody said to my wife, oh, I want to run a marathon. And I got wind of it. Somehow I heard it. And I came in the conversation and my wife's like, oh my God, he's going to sign you up tomorrow to run that marathon. Right. Because that's what I do. Like, don't tell me you're going to do something and then not do it. Life is meant to take action and actually follow through. And I literally had a dad who jumped into one of my programs last week, and I sent him a message, and because he wanted to reach out to some prospects, and he had done 2 of the 5. I said, all right, you have 3 to go, but I'm going to give you an extra one, a bonus one. Do 4 today and get it done and report back to me, right? Because that's what people need. Guide rails. People need coaches. I mean, heck, that's, I think, why so many people fail in adulthood is they've had coaches their whole life, or they've had parents. They get released to the wild. I got released to the wild, and then I didn't have anybody mentoring me or guiding me or saying, do X, Y, Z, or this is what's worked for me. So they flail. And I did for 2 decades of my life. I was stuck. I was drifting like Napoleon Hill, right? And Think and Grow Rich. That still plays 120 years after the fact. So yeah, there is absolutely the alienation. But on the flip side, I also want people around me that play at a peak level.
For sure.
Because people that are like I don't want to be around it because I don't want to absorb it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, let's go. Life's meant to be lived. Let's attack it. And so yeah, that's a long answer to your
no,
question.
Dude, it's great. It's so good. And it brings up so many like little sub questions because I totally agree with you. Just having people around you that level you up. Something I've realized very quickly is I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert in most cases because I feel like no one will go deep with me. And so podcasts are great for me because I'm just genuinely curious. I'm like, whoa, let's talk, right? But in like at a birthday party, it's like, oh, what do you do? Oh yeah, I'm in insurance. Cool. Do you like it? No. Why don't you quit? Like, well, I can't. I'm like, well, what skills do you have? And then they're just like, okay, you're too much, right?
Yeah.
But as I've leveled up and I've paid coaches and I've done all these things, like now I'm in a mastermind where I fly to Denver every other month and I sit in this room with people that are making more money than me. And I'm just like, I'm in this fish tank where like I'm a small fish, but I'm a big fish compared to average people. Right. And so I totally feel you on that and how important it is to do that. But I'm curious, your kids, right? Because we know how adults are handling it, right? They're like, I'm pushing you out of my life. But your boys, right? Your boys, they're in high school, right?
Yes, both
Okay.
junior and sophomore in high school.
Okay, so junior and sophomore in high school. What's the reaction to their discipline? Are their friends inspired by it? Are they pushed away from it? How's that panning out?
I think it's a mix of, I would say, more on the inspired by, right? I would 3 years ago when we started going to the gym at 5:15, me and my two sons, there wasn't another dad with his kids in there. I've seen many more dads with their kids in there.
That's cool.
And I gotta have to, put the breadcrumbs together that, hey, they're talking about we're going to the gym early. Now more kids are doing it. So I just love seeing that, right? Like nothing better. And they know that my boys show up and are disciplined and work freaking hard. And, that's going to play long before sports are gone, right? Like they're going to play for the rest of their lives. So could there be some obviously, in high school and dynamics, but I'm setting them up for life, not necessarily to succeed in sports and in school. Do I want them to be successful? Yes. I mean, but that work ethic, that tenacity, I think it rubs off on other people because when people are setting a bar, and I feel like this for, what I do, all of a sudden, not everybody's going to want to see it. You're going to have those people that say, all right, unfollow. I don't want to be friends with you anymore. But then you're going to have others like my buddy who runs ultra marathons. I talked about his buddy who commits, like he got me to run an ultra marathon. I crewed him on a 103-mile race. And he told me to do the last 23 miles. I was like, I've never run 23 miles in my life. And he said, I know your mentality. And we got to a point in that race. And he's like, maybe we'll make it. And I said, F that. You didn't bring the hammer on this. We're running into this. And he finished like it was awesome. So if you find the right people, they're like, man, I'm all right, let's do something. Let's compete. Right. And then it raises the game. So I think, there's probably some that turn away from it, but I think it's motivational. It's inspirational. The coaches love it because they're hardworking, value-driven boys that want to give everything they have and empty up that tank. And I think that's infectious to others. So yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. And one of them, I read something about like, he has limitations, right? He has a limited like Crohn's disease, right?
Yeah. My youngest son has Crohn's disease. It's in full remission, luckily, but that's, awesome. He's meditated for 4 years. He eats well, he exercises, he sleeps. But he's had to overcome that to continue to move forward. Yes. As a kid, he was diagnosed at 5 years old.
Man. Yeah. That's crazy. And I mean, especially symptoms like that, dude, it's hard to work out. It's hard to do the very things that they're embracing right now. So that just speaks to you, you living it out and the practicality behind it, Jeff. So that's awesome, man. I want to ask, like, warrior dad, right? You say these things, you're like, hey, have conviction, be motivated, all these things, but there are dudes out there who just are not. And so with that being said, I'm not saying that those are maybe your avatar, but like who is the guy where you're like, Chris, if I could just fill my coaching book with this guy, like who is this guy? Where is he? Where do you believe you can take him?
Yeah, it's probably 3 avatars. One is his dad's crushing it at work, but then he's thinking about work at home. He's not present. He's kind of missing out on a practice or a game, things of that nature. That would be number one. Number 2 is
Chris
somebody
Farrell. Okay. All right. Next.
Sorry, I didn't intentionally say, hey, it was you. Number 2 would be, somebody stuck in a rut where they're just like, man, I've gotten into this pattern. I can't get out of it. I've started and stopped multiple times, which has killed his motivation. It's also eroded the trust with his wife. And that's what happens many times because when you start and stop and you don't stay consistent, guess what your wife sees? Well, this is somebody that starts and that's just a pattern. So somebody stuck in a rut, needing guidance. And then, lastly, somebody that misses deep male connection, brotherhood, and bonding and support, and wants to be connected to a group of guys that are playing at a different level. And I think that
Brotherhood, man.
is so missed, especially from men. I used to be a lone wolf. I used to be like, I'll figure it out myself. There is no self-made man. There never has been, never will be. We need brotherhood. We need connection. We need support. We need guidance. We need others to, hey, say you've got this when you're going through a challenging time. And I did it in one of my classes. I think Alex was in that class. And I said one Sunday, like, just get my butt kicked on sales calls. And I'm questioning everything. And literally within 20 minutes, he had connected me with another dad who ended up jumping into the program. Right. So like the brotherhood factor is huge, and having that connection. And I hadn't met Chris, a single one of the dads that jumped into the Warrior Dad. And I have a Legends program. When dads graduate through my 10-week program, they can get into Legends if they want to be in the best of the best. And I hadn't met anybody for 2 years until this past May. And I met 4 of the dads, Alex being one of them. And it was like we were brothers. It literally was so cool. I actually went out with Alex, his wife, and 4 kids for ice cream. They're in the book. They had the book. It was unbelievable. And I said, that was a testament to what we're doing on a daily basis, being connected, being on the tack, making progress in our lives. So those are typically the 3 avatars.
Yeah. What's next, man? Like, I saw something about like a warrior dad summit, and you set goals at the beginning of the year. We're in September. Unreal, right? So in the next 3 months, what do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished that you're like moving on?
So number one, got the Warrior Dad Summit coming October. We're gonna get some guys in Philadelphia. We're gonna be in Valley Forge, hiking, rucking, jumping in some ice baths, leading, doing some leadership stuff, which is fantastic. So looking forward to that. I've got some other pretty cool things in development. The Warrior Dad app is coming. So to support dads who have either gotten the book, want to be a part of a community, that's coming. Warrior Mom is in the background being developed, and that'll be full blown by the end of the year, kicking off in 2026. And then Mom, let's go. Yes, because I've been asked by a lot of people, hey, dads, but what about helping the mom side? So
dude, it happens every time. Yes, that makes sense.
I've had a couple classes making a transition from a coaching perspective there. My wife actually went through it this summer, changed the game. All of us, like when I would try and coach her, it doesn't work between a husband and a wife. It just doesn't. But having another mom coach, like she's changed her mentality. We're having great discussions. So that's another piece. And then really doing it from a geographic perspective. So my vision for 2026 is having groups of 20 dads competing to stack their wins, complete missions on a weekly basis. And then we're competing by region. So it'd be the Legends. It'd be like Annapolis, Maryland. We'd have leaderboards and stuff like that to really continue to move the needle, and maybe the Warrior Dad Games in late 2026.
Hey man,
I'm putting it out. I'm putting it out in the universe. There you go. Because that would be pretty cool as well, to get a bunch of us together to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing. That's really, really cool, Jeff. Like, what an awesome mission, man. And it is a BHAG, right? It is a big, hairy, audacious goal. It is, but it's powerful, and it does change the family trees. And I know as a dad of 6, like I have these gaps, and I'm like, oh man, I'm too critical with the kids, or I can't turn my brain off when I leave the office, and all the things. And so as we land the plane here over the next few minutes, I want to kind of go into like the transformational piece for a guy, because we know the data shows like men buy health, wealth, relationships, women buy health, wealth, relationships. So it's like, I want to look hot, I want to have more sex, and I want to make money, right? So which of those 3 do you solve, my friend? You solve all 3? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah, number one, we dial in our energy. And I would say we hit all three, not directly, but it's amazing how when you dial in your energy and we control the bookends, PM and AM, stack wins to start our days, no distractions in less than 1% of your day, which is 1% is 14 minutes, 24 seconds. When you stack 7 wins real quick, you've got an energy, a focus, a fire that you play life with. So as a byproduct of that, hey, guess what? You work out more. You are more physically fit, right? So you're healthier. You're going to be able to run with your kids, run with your grandkids. That's a key component by making deposits into the Love Bank account every single day, especially when we don't feel like it. Guess what? Your relationship with your kiddos all of a sudden transform. Guess what? The wife finally says, like, who the heck are you and what are you doing? But yeah, from a relationship more set, yes, that's happening more. And then guess what? When you're fulfilled by filling that family cup, you crush it more at work. So it's just amazing to watch when we dial in energy, and we need to play with energy. I mean, energy zest. If you don't have energy and zest, Chris, good luck trying to crush life.
Dude, you're right. Yeah.
You're just not going to be able to do it. And too many people aren't focusing on their energy first. And that's why we control the bookends, wind down, get a great night's sleep, stack 7 wins, boom. And you're like the gun's going off and you're at the starting line of sprint and you're attacking life. And I've got a new class going through right now. And the guys are like, I can't believe how much more focused, energized, and on my toes attacking life I am. Because what's the average mediocre? We talked about this to start. The average mediocre, kind of going through the motions, dad, is on his heels. He's playing defense. He's playing not to lose. And it's exhausting. They flop on the couch every night and they're like, how the heck am I going to do this tomorrow? That's not the warrior dad, right? The warrior dad is like, yep, hey, I have a couple days a month. And I tell the dads, hey, you're going to have 3, 4, 5 days a month where you're not at your best. That's okay.
Sure.
But use it as a bounce back tomorrow. And before you go to bed, commit, like tomorrow's going to be freaking fantastic. And I'm going to play on my toes. So energy is such a huge component. So yep. Health, wealth, relationships, they all get impacted by us showing up as the best version of ourselves. And it's amazing to watch. I mean, week 1, I consistently have dads just be like, I can't believe the difference. I really can't. So it's amazing and terribly rewarding to watch the impact that it has on their lives and then their families. Nothing like getting a text from a dad like, hey, all of us were drinking water, or my son's on my back and I'm doing push-ups in the morning. And it's like, yes, that's what it's about.
Let's go, dude. That's awesome, man. It's powerful. It's mission driven. And it is transformative, man. So, dude, great stuff today. The Warrior Dad. Tell us about the summit. Tell us about the Warrior Dad project. Tell us about where people can find more of Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. So go out to warriordad.com. You can grab a time on my calendar. I love to just talk and figure out where you're at. And if there's a fit, you can find me out on socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm out on all the socials. If you want to grab the Warrior Dad book, you can go out to Amazon. It's out there and you can pick that up as well.
Yeah. Dude, we barely even covered the book. I have 100 more questions for you, but we'll only have so much time right now. So
we'll have to do it. We'll have to do it again, and we can dive into the book.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Jeff, thank you for coming on the podcast, my man.
Chris, thanks for having me.
You got it.